911, what's your emergency?
Aliens! UFOs! UAPs? ICUP? Buy a T, get one free? The aliens are here!
Dame tu cosita. Ay.
And they're not sending their best.
They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime.
These things are demonic.
The government's lying to us. I know things. I've seen things.
What do you think, dude?
I've seen the truth. No! No! No!
The "Are aliens among us" discussion is not new. In fact, it's been going on since before people even knew there were other planets for things to come from.
What the fuck is that?
But in recent years, the UFO discussion has been pulled from the conspiracy dumpster and thrust into the mainstream. With more serious news coverage, government officials and scientists are all speaking up about ETs. And I largely became aware of this the same way that most people these days discover their exciting fringe pseudoscience, because of Joe Rogan, who's had on guests who've encountered UFOs, worked in government programs to investigate UFOs, a government whistleblower who claims that the government possesses alien ships and biologic material, and even someone who claims to have personally worked on reverse engineering an alien craft. And since I have a boner for all things science fiction, I naturally ate up all the UFO slop that Papa Rogan wanted to shove down my throat.
Hey, yo!
And over time, this developed into full-blown UFO brain rot. I sincerely believed that my childhood hopes had been realized. I was giddy with excitement, walking around with a pep in my step, screaming from the rooftops that the biggest discovery of mankind had just been made. And it was only a matter of time before we were inducted into galactic society and prepared to fight the Reapers. And I'm not the only one. The number of Americans who believe UFOs involve alien spacecraft has been steadily rising for the last few years. And sure, these UFO videos don't really look all that impressive, but they seem to think so. And then everything changed when Mick West attacked. Oh no. No, stop! I was a true believer. And then this UFO debunking clown robbed me of my faith. And now I don't know what to believe. It's like inside me there's a conspiracy-pilled UFO truther and a science-y skeptic, and they're battling for my soul. So I decided it was time to hop back into the UFO rabbit hole and examine the evidence and finish this fight. Oh, and we're only gonna be looking at the videos released by the Pentagon because I said so, that's why. Number 1, the Tic Tac incident. In 2004, 4 naval pilots are flying around off the coast of Southern California, and they saw what they described as a 40-foot-long white Tic Tac-like object zipping around. The object played footsies with the pilots for a few minutes and then abruptly disappeared. About an hour later, a second group of fighters went to investigate, this time equipped with a fancy schmancy infrared camera, and they filmed what they believed to be the same object.
My Game Boy Color had more pixels than this shit.
Yeah, I'm not very impressed with this.
Just shut up and watch to the end. See how it just flies out of frame? How does something that's hovering in place move that quickly, huh? Well, if you stop flapping your stupid ass lips, I'll tell you. Joe's guests are presenting this object as something that's suspiciously hovering in place, and then out of nowhere just accelerates so quickly that it has to be alien technology.
How fast is that going? I would say pretty fast. It's an estimate. If we had ranging, you could obviously do the triangle and go, hey, because we know how big the field of view is, but for something to leave the field of view that fast with the pod just staring is pretty fast.
But UFO debunker extraordinaire Mick West provides an alternative explanation. How the object is actually consistently moving and the camera's auto-tracked, and then the camera loses track, so it looks like it's flying out of frame.
So all the apparent movements we see are consistent with the object simply moving in a straight line to the left. So this is perfectly consistent with something like a distant aircraft just flying along quite normally, making no sudden movements. So if this interpretation is correct, what does it mean? It means that To the Stars Academy is wrong. It means the experts on the History Channel were wrong. It means the SCU report is wrong. It means Jeremy Corbell was wrong. And it even means that about this one thing, Commander David Fravor was wrong.
Like I'm gonna believe this clown over the guy that's literally flying the plane.
He's got a point.
But he wasn't flying this plane, dipshit. That was actually another pilot who's gone on record saying that he didn't see the object because he was too busy focused on recording the video. But you think a trained pilot can't tell the difference between a moving object and a stationary object? And what about the guy's account? He said that he visually saw the thing moving in unexplainable ways. Well, until I can visually see some evidence, I don't believe it. And this is where I always end up. I find this video incredibly underwhelming, but the pilot's account bugs me out. But unfortunately, I don't take "trust me bro, I saw it" as evidence. Ha! You lose.
Wait, you maniac! We still have a few more videos to watch.
Number 2, gimbal. Here we've got another recording from a Navy pilot from 2015, this time off the coast of Florida.
This grainy shit again? You think after 10 years that they would upgrade their equipment?
True.
Just shut the fuck up and pay attention.
Well, if there's a thing, it's rotating.
I mean, you can't even deny this one. It's shaped like a flying saucer. And the aura around the object? It's obviously a gravity-bending warp drive.
I'll admit, it does look pretty weird.
Once again, I will refer to confirmed UFO racist Mick West. Not this clown again. Who argues that what we're seeing in the video is actually just a glare that hides the real object, and that it's only rotating because the camera's rotating.
I was gonna pop another science-y debunking clip in here like I did with the last video, but the whole thing is honestly just so dense, you're better off just watching his video, link in the description.
And that mystical glare, it's just an artifact of the camera. It's all over the place. You can see it in many different cameras.
So what is it then?
Don't know.
He has no answers. And all you have is low-res video and speculative bullshit.
I agree. I'm not convinced. Next.
Go fast. This is another object spotted off the East Coast in early 2015, and this one's notable because look how giddy this guy sounds.
An object zooming right above the water at alarming speeds? There's only one thing this can be.
It's a balloon.
Oh, fuck off! It's not right above the water, it's not moving fast, it's a slow-moving object 13,000 feet above the water that appears to be low and fast due to a parallax effect that's magnified by the camera's zoom. And all of the numbers to figure this out are on the screen. I know your dumbass didn't figure that out. It was Mick West. It's more than likely a weather balloon, and the DoD release form for this video even mentions balloons, so maybe they think that too.
Makes sense to me. All right, time to die.
But wait! There's more videos!
I know, but this bit's getting old, and it's a pain in the ass to film.
This is the video that really kills my alien hopes and dreams. Now, I was already aware that this video was misleading malarkey after coming across these parallax videos. This balloon is just floating around minding its own business, but it looks like it's hauling ass because the camera's hauling ass. But what strikes me the most about it now is how confused and dazzled our supposed experts are by it.
This effect is called a parallax. I still don't agree with this assessment since the pilots who witnessed the object flying marveled at its speed.
Yeah? Well, they're wrong! I don't blame the pilots for being unable to do a complex trigonometric analysis in their head while flying a fighter jet, but it does prove that even our trained observers can be misled.
Professional observers, which is what we're actually trained to do.
What does upset me is that this clown who claims to be the UFO expert is still seemingly confused about what's happening here. Dude claims he ran the UFO task force in the Pentagon but doesn't understand high school math? What? And when asked about this, he just says there's more data that we're not allowed to see.
Do not have access to that data now or anymore, but fortunately there are people in the government that do, and they have a lot more information than just that.
Yeah, thanks, dude. What else do you got in those files? Is the Easter Bunny a government operative? Not only is the object shown almost unambiguously some normal shit, but in my eyes, it lowers the credibility of all these people that are still dazzled by it. What we need is undeniable proof that only has one explanation, but instead, all we have are all these low-res videos. Each one has more plausible explanations. That clown is Lue Elizondo, and he's a member of what I'm calling the trust me bro, but it's classified crowd. It's one of the final stages of untreated UFO brain rot. They claim that this undeniable proof exists. The only problem is your no-riz having bum ass can't see it because it's classified.
That's classified. I could tell you, but then I'd have to kill you.
The easiest clown here to dismiss is Bob Lazar. Lazar claims he's just a really smart guy who was recruited to work on a secret government program to reverse engineer a downed alien craft in the 1980s. And of course, he's never provided a shred of evidence, which actually isn't that hard for me to believe because I'm a really smart guy too, and I work on the same program. I can't prove it though, it's classified. Ironically, the only thing Lazar has going in his favor in my mind is just how horrible his Wikipedia article is. I've probably read more Wikipedia articles than anyone else in history, and the sheer negativity on this thing blows my mind. Lazar has no evidence of alien life or technology, and his claimed education and employment history is replete with fabrication. Lazar is also a criminal. prostitution ring? Illegal chemicals? This guy kinda kicks ass. I feel like articles this bad either reveal someone who's intentionally being smeared or he's just a shit human being, and personally, I lean towards the latter. Next we have Dave Grush, a government intelligence officer who came forward and blew the whistle, as they say, and claimed that there was a government UFO retrieval and reverse engineering program, that we possess multiple craft and the bodies of deceased pilots, and that people have been murdered in order to keep this a secret. And to be honest, I don't really know what to make of this guy. He seems very genuine and legit, decorated war veteran, intelligence officer, all that shit. But of course, he also has not given us any evidence. It's classified. And in a public critique of Grush, one astrophysicist wrote that all we have is a guy who says he knows a guy who knows another guy who heard from a guy that the government has alien spaceships. That's literally all we have. Now, coming forward and making the sort of career-ending statements that this guy's made in public is really not something a rational human being would just lie about. So he's either crazy or he genuinely believes everything that he's saying. He has UFO brain rot just like me. He believes everything he's told. Because when it comes down to it, all we really have is, my coworkers told me that aliens exist. Dave Grush is possibly the victim of the biggest office joke in history. Lastly, we have Lue Elizondo, a former Army intelligence officer who claims he was the director of a Pentagon program called ATIP that studied UFOs. I use the word claim because people have publicly called into question his backstory, with conflicted reports of the scale of the program as well as his involvement in it, which to me is kind of already a red flag. And he would eventually resign from whatever duties he had, claiming that the government would just not take it seriously, or so he claims. But in the years since, he's become a fixture in the UFO sphere, appearing in TV shows and podcasts, and he recently published a best-selling book, which I couldn't be bothered to read, but apparently in it he's still confused about what's happening in these videos. And personally, I sort of see this guy as another Jeremy Corbell, a devout UFO believer turned media figure who has financial and reputational incentives to keep spreading UFO brain rot. Even though I think these guys are largely sincere, maybe with the exception of Lazar, I do ultimately still think they're full of shit. And they preach a faith-based UFO narrative that seems more like a religion than a scientific inquiry. But luckily, they're not the only clowns investigating this. There are legitimate scientists putting their careers and, more importantly, their brains on the line to investigate this. One of the more well-known scientists is Avi Loeb, a Harvard physicist who received a lot of media attention in 2018 for suggesting that an interstellar object passing through our solar system may have actually been a piece of alien technology given the object's highly unusual characteristics. And following that, he now runs the Galileo Project, an international research project that is searching for extraterrestrial intelligence. But unsurprisingly, the project has not turned up anything yet, or anything convincing that is, and it's possible that Loeb is starting to display the first symptoms of UFO brain rot, after asserting his team may have found the remains of an alien starship, a move that many relevant experts deemed cap. And then I stumbled upon a familiar face, a physicist named Kevin Knuth, a physics professor from SUNY Albany. Hey, that's where I went to school. That's the most school spirit I've ever shown. And not only was Knuth one of my physics professors, he's also the true source of my UFO brain rot. That's right, the disease is actually rampant in the UAlbany physics department. And although I may have been the shittiest physics student in the department's history, I do remember emerging from the haze of my alcohol and Adderall-fueled binges long enough to attend a lecture specifically about UFOs, where Professor Knuth declared with certainty that there are non-human craft flying around in our skies. And although I couldn't attend the full 3-hour lecture and risk experiencing alcohol withdrawals, I do remember that my worldview was distinctly altered after this event, and my mind was primed to receive all the UFO brain rot that Papa Rogan would later feed me. And now that I had rediscovered the source of my UFO brain rot, I decided to make Professor Knuth the focal point of my search. It starts and ends with him. And Knuth's claims differ from the usual brain rot, because he, like the rest of us, does not have access to the classified material. And with the publicly available data, he's concluded that there are craft flying around in our skies, moving in ways that are too magical and whimsical to be created by human hands, or human machines. Humans-made stuff. We're talking about big acceleration, things that are moving so quickly, orders of magnitude more impressive than even our most impressive vehicles. For us truthers, he's published a paper about said topic. Finally, this is it. What occurred next was a frustrating few hours where I reached the limits of my patience in reading comprehension. Case studies relying on eyewitness testimony as well as a video that I already considered debunked. And the two cases I wasn't familiar with involved pouring through document after document, looking at things I wasn't qualified to interpret. This particular paper trail just ends with a letter of someone just saying the object went super fast. This one ends with a bunch of complex radar images and an assessment that seems to suggest that nothing out of the ordinary had occurred. Well, which is it? I was again left with more questions than answers. It just shows how difficult getting to the bottom of this really is. And it's so easy to let other seemingly qualified people who already share your worldview do the thinking for you. And I've personally allowed enough of my liquefied gray matter to seep out of my ears. The UFO rabbit hole is endless, and there are dozens of other kooky characters in this space who all deserve their own deep dives. And in this rabbit hole, you'll find conspiracies upon conspiracies. UFO clout chasers chasing to the bottom of the rabbit hole in a race of money and influence. And devout, personality-driven factions warring with each other and seeing who can out-brain rot the other. And when a member of this community finally wakes up from the delusion and questions their faith, he gets branded a government disinformation agent here to lead us astray from the truth. One of such figures is the physicist Sean Kirkpatrick, who was the first director of the current Pentagon UFO task force and initially publicly supported the idea that UAPs could be of ET origin. But after stating that his program had found no evidence of aliens, the UFO community lashed out, sending threats, claiming new conspiracies against him.
I've had people try to dig up information on my wife, my child, where I live, make threats, send harassments, that's not called for.
Kirkpatrick would later say the UFO narrative is a textbook example of circular reporting, with each person relaying what they heard, but the information often ultimately being sourced to the same small group of individuals, interconnected believers and others with possibly less than honest intentions, who promote a whirlwind of tall tales, fabrication, and secondhand or third-hand retellings. There's been a whole lot of talk, but not a whole lot of hard evidence. That being said, I definitely still have UFO brain rot and would love for these things to be true. If you're a UFO truther who's made it to the end of this video, please let me know in the comments with excruciating detail and as much expletives as possible how retarded I am. Thank you for watching and stay tuned for whatever bullshit I make next.